After reading a bunch of the comments you guys left on my last video, I decided I was going to make like a part 2, kind of like an editor's note to the other video, but also like going into some other stuff, because this obviously is a topic that we all have different opinions about. And I feel like with a channel like this, with the side that we're on, we kind of agree on like a lot of the same things most of the time. So when we do find something that we disagree on, or whether it's a little disagreement or big, I think that's important, because the biggest problem that we have on the far right, and I mean, I don't know if you consider yourself far right. I don't think labels really matter. Somebody left a comment saying labels don't even really mean anything anymore, and you're right. They don't. And I have said something similar like that before, but I think we can all agree we are on a certain side. We have a certain idea of what we want this country to be. I'm an American first patriot, first and foremost, and I'm going to just assume you guys are kind of in that same bracket. It doesn't mean we all agree on the same things or listen to the same people or have the same answers to the same problems, but we acknowledge a lot of the same problems, and we just want a country that is self-sufficient. We don't want a country that relies on other governments. We don't want a country that is under control of foreign governments. We don't want our country being run by Israel or Jews. It's just simple as that. That's probably like the biggest thing I would say. And then I would go as far to say after that, I don't want my country being run by pedophiles either. I don't care if they're American pedophiles or Jewish. I don't give a fuck. I just don't want them in the government. So there's different layers to it, but ultimately I would say we're all American first people here to some degree. But the reason why this type of topic is very important is because we don't have a lot of unity on our side. Not enough. And anytime we do have disagreements, we should talk about those things. Now, that's not really going to be the whole video as me just rehashing the stuff I said in the past video. It's going to be me kind of going into, somebody made a comment where they said, well, hey, could you make a video where you talk about the peaceful solutions you mentioned, something we could learn from or start implementing in their lives or our lives or whatever. And I think that's a good idea. I will say before we get into that, I don't have like a foolproof plan for exactly everything that would work, but I do have a few ideas, and I don't think really anybody has a foolproof plan, whether it's people who are accelerationists and want everything to burn and want, conflict to start, or people who don't want that and want peace. Ultimately, I think everybody who's an American first patriot, we kind of have an idea of what we want, but nobody really has a foolproof plan. Everybody kind of has an idea, but I've never seen anybody, actually have something that's step by step. There are books, there are philosophers, there are people who have, opinions, obviously, but I don't think anything's foolproof. But that was a really great comment, and I like it when you guys actually leave stuff like that, because it gives me ideas and it piggybacks off of the other video. There is like one thing I'm going to kind of talk about, rehash a little bit from the first video, but then we're going to go into the peaceful solutions, what I think. And as always, guys, listen to it, make up your own mind. If you disagree, go ahead, let me know down below. I don't know if you are going to believe me on this, but I have yet to delete a comment on my channel. That's not something I'm trying to do. Now, if somebody leaves some batshit insane shit, maybe I might delete it, but I'm not I might even just leave it up because it's going to be funny. But I don't do that. So even if you disagree, whether it's a little or a lot, I appreciate you guys listening. So thank you. But first things first, I have to kind of give an apology to people from the last video. So when I posted the last video, I had a title that said, "Stop LARPing and Live in Reality." And a lot of people were watching the video and they were being like, why the fuck are you saying LARPing? It's like, I LARP with my friends, or I LARP in my militia or whatever. LARPing is good. That's how you train. That's how you get better at tactics and all this stuff. And I'm not going to lie, I was completely unaware that people in militias or Minutemen groups kind of use that terminology. To me personally, when I think of LARPing, I just think of adults playing pretend outside in public. Actually just role-playing fantasy shit. I did not know it was a terminology used by people who actually train and do that. So knowing what I know now, because a lot of people were like, why is he saying this? And this one guy, I remember he said like, am I just old, or does this mean something different now? Like, I thought it meant this. And I was kind of like confused too. I was like, what the fuck are these people talking about? But I was the one who was wrong. So somebody left a comment and suggested, his name was Vincent, by the way. Shout out to Vincent. He said, you should probably change the title. So I did. So full disclosure to the people where I said that in the title, and that's why you clicked on the video and you were like, what the fuck? He's not talking about us at all. He's talking about these other people. This one guy was like, don't compare us to them. We're not them. And I actually did feel bad. I was like, fuck, but my bad. Like, you know, I am into guns. I buy guns. I'm into that stuff where I train with my brothers and my friends. Like, we're all into that, but we're not like a militia. I'm not like super into that side of the internet or that culture, to be quite honest. I do well enough on my own, but I'm not like a part of a group. So I didn't know. So I apologize if you got mad from that title, or if you clicked on the video and you were expecting something completely different and I kind of clickbait you into watching it, because that's not what I was meaning. I wasn't talking about people who do that. I was talking about just people who straight up advocate for violence in civil war. Fed posters, actual feds, actual bots, Indians, and unfortunately real Americans that advocate for those things. So just letting the LARPers know I wasn't trying to attack you. And also, I got to let you guys know, it's like I completely agree with training and with preparing. It's like I've been kind of doing that for a few years with my family, myself. We buy ammo, we buy provisions, I do all that same shit. Maybe not to the certain extent as some of you, but I completely advocate and agree for that. I think people should go to the gym. I think people should train, physically. I think you should do a combat sport for sure, whether it's boxing or jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai. Like, I'm actually like really big into advocating for people to get into those things because they are very useful. And even if there never is like a civil war or anything like that, like that's just going to benefit you in a lot of different areas. So I'm 100% for training. The people who are saying like it's better to be a warrior in a garden than be a gardener in a war, or the people who are saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, like 100%. Yeah, that is 100% true. And no amount of wanting peace or wanting things to go the right way for us is going to change the fact that reality doesn't really care about those things. Doesn't care about what we want. Shit does hit the fan. Things do go sideways. Things do go bad. And not being prepared for those things, it's a recipe for disaster. And, us as men, it is our responsibility to be the ones that take care of certain people in our lives. Whether it's younger brothers or our sons or our daughters, or if you have a wife or a girlfriend, it is your responsibility to be that type of person in these situations. It just is. Like, that's kind of a point to being a man. And I'm fully in support of that, 100%. And I know in the last video, I didn't explain myself too well with a lot of different things. And that's what happens with these types of videos when I'm kind of just rambling and just speaking my mind. I'm just spitballing. There's no script. And I do that for a few reasons. I'm trying to get better at just speaking in general. And I know it sounds like I'm all over the place sometimes. And sometimes I'll bring up certain topics and I won't really go into them or explain myself so well. And sometimes I'll forget to mention things at all. So I'm not against people training or preparing or joining a militia or a Minutemen group. Like, I'm all for that 100%. So I don't want people to get the idea that I'm not in support of that, or I don't think that that's the right thing to do, because I really do. I think that's what you should do. But what I'm against personally are the people who advocate for violence, are the people who are accelerationists to the point to where they don't just expect violence to happen. They're the ones who are calling for it. They're the ones who want it to happen for whatever reason. There's a billion different reasons why. And to those people, I could debate you or argue with you for literally hours, but I'm just going to say this. It's like, I don't think there's enough of you that actually want that to where if it happened, you guys would be able to win any type of conflict to where you're the ones who are calling for it and start it. I don't think it's good to want millions and millions of Americans to die, because that's what would be the result of that. Not even just from violence, just from starving people and people not having resources and food, electricity going out in certain places. Like, these are things that would happen. And even some people responded to that and they said, well, that's what needs to happen if we're going to have a revolution or whatever. And it's like, dude, wanting innocent people to just die or thinking that that's what's necessary for you to achieve your goal is not good. That's not a Christian belief. That's not something that I think shares like our values of like who we are. Having this idea that the only way your goal or your perfect America would exist is if millions of people died. It's like, that's what fucking communism is. They literally believe kill enough people until you get exactly what you want. There's never going to be enough people that die that are going to give you that. And I think wanting Americans to die, whether they're on your side or not, is sick. And wanting yourself to die, some people were talking about how they were going to be like, I'll be a martyr for this. I'll die for this. It's like, bro, if you're calling for violence, if you're asking for that, and if you get it, you're not going to win. And if you die, you're going to die for no reason. And people who care about protecting the white race and preventing the white race from being replaced, because the Great Replacement Theory is a real thing, yeah. But it's like these people who are like, yeah, we need to kill people who support abortions or whatever. It's like, dude, I hope you realize like a lot of white people like that shit too. So it's like you would be killing a bunch of Americans and also a bunch of white Americans. That's going to stop the Great Replacement Theory from happening. And what makes you think that after that type of conflict, that bloody conflict, and let's just say it was between left and right, let's forget about the military intervention, forget about all that stuff. What makes you think that after you win, if you do win, there's not going to be some foreign country that just comes in and fucks you in the ass? And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm actually trying to be serious in this video because these are real questions. It's like there's so many ways that you being the one calling for violence and actively starting the violence could just end badly. And like I said, we could argue about this for literally hours. Maybe we will one day, but not in this video. I'm sure people are going to write the comments right now. They're going to be disagreeing with me, whatever. They're like, read this book. There's a guy who kept saying that over and over, which I will check those books out. So thank you. But you have to be careful, man, because the government is going to start cracking down on this type of rhetoric. People who are actively calling for violence on both sides. It doesn't matter if you're liberal or if you're right wing. And to be quite honest, they're probably going to crack down harder on right wing because they are afraid of us. They're not afraid of liberals, dude. I know people are afraid of Antifa, and we will do a video on Antifa. Somebody left a comment with a lot of great resources on that, and I'm going to look into that, and we'll make a video on Antifa. But they don't fear them like they fear us. They're afraid of us because we know that they're controlled. There are people in power who are controlled by either Israel or Jewish influence or bankers or whatever you want to call it. They know we know those things. Liberal communists that are in Antifa don't think like that. They don't like Israel because Israel is bombing Palestinians. They don't care that they're Jewish. They don't care about Jews running America. They don't care about that shit. They don't see that shit as a problem. They don't fear that side like they fear us. And that side, they're not the ones that are capable of violence. They're not the ones that have weapons like we do. That is a thing. And the reason why I say they're going to start cracking down on this type of rhetoric online is because they're starting to do that now. A young kid who's like 21 or 22 got arrested yesterday, or maybe it was a day or two ago, because he was posting threats from an anonymous Twitter account, threatening people because they were Jewish, saying, you betrayed us, you're with the Jews, we're going to hang you, all this crazy shit. And this dude with an anonymous profile got arrested in Texas, and he's going to be extradited to Florida for breaking Florida laws, even though he lives in Texas. So it's like, dude, I know that's a start, and I know he was actively like telling people that we're going to kill you and all this crazy shit, but this is going to start a chain reaction. This administration is under control. They don't like the fact that people are noticing. They don't like the fact that people know that Israel runs shit and that there's influence. They don't like that shit at all. Ted Cruz just came out today. We gave like another $3 billion to Israel with like this package, or at least there's like a deal that they're trying to sign off on. And he was talking about anti-Semitism and how we have to fight it online. There is going to be a chain reaction from the left and the right to go after people who are calling for violence. Now, I myself am not calling for violence, and I disagree with people who do. But I'm letting you know, if you're one of those people who's saying, yeah, we need to burn this shit down, we need a civil war to happen, it's the only way if we have a revolution. It's the only way, people gotta die. Millions of Americans need to die for us to win. If you're saying shit like that, seriously, dude, if you're an actual American, I'm not talking if you're like a Fed or a bot or a fucking Indian pretending you're American, but if you're an actual American, it doesn't matter if you have an anonymous profile, if you're using a VPN, I guarantee you pretty soon you're going to start seeing them go after people like that who say shit like that. So if you want to go to prison because you keep talking like that, and I'm not saying you shouldn't say what you want to say, I'm just saying it's like, stop doing the calls to violence. It doesn't make you look hard. It doesn't make you look cool. The only people who it looks cool to are people who agree with you, and there's not a lot of you. And anybody who has a family, a lot of people were commenting saying, I will prepare for war because I need to protect my kids, my family. Anybody who's in that situation, you sure as fuck should not be calling for violence online because they will arrest your ass. And if you think any of these people who are going to be getting arrested for saying things and calling for violence online, if you think they're going to be fair to you in any court of law, no. They're going to be just as fair to you as they were to the January 6ers. And by that, I mean the people who literally fucking didn't do anything and were in solitary confinement for like 3 years. The people who were literally in prison until they got pardoned by Trump. That's where this is going. And a lot of people on our side are starting to say that there's going to be a false flag attack. There's either going to be a mass shooting or there is going to be somebody who goes out and is going to assassinate somebody, and they're going to pin it on us. They're going to say he was an American first far-right extremist. And if you think I'm wrong, dude, I'm not the only one saying this. A lot of people have been saying this recently. And it's because it's going to happen. Because what happened right after Charlie Kirk died? What was the first big push by the media when they arrested the guy who shot him? According to the official narrative, he's the one who shot him. What was the first story they all pushed? In unity. Like this newspaper, that newspaper, this news station, that news station, within like 12 hours, they all said he's a far-right extremist. He watches Nick Fuentes. He's a groyper. Why? Why did they do that? Well, first of all, it was all calculated by one person. It actually came from like a media strategist. She's like this Jewish woman. It literally came from like one person. She came up with the idea. It spread, it went to all these heads at all these different media outlets, and then next thing you know, within like 12 hours, they're all putting out articles. They're all bringing people on for interviews, and they're spreading that word around. What's a groyper? Who's a groyper? Was he far right? Because they are begging for something like this to happen where they could find his Twitter page and they can pin it on someone like us because they are afraid of us. They fear us because they know we know what's going on and we're not buying the fucking Kool-Aid anymore. We're not drinking that shit anymore. They do fear us. They do fear Gen Z. That's why I don't black pill about this stuff. That's why I am hopeful about the future, and I think there is a peaceful solution that we can strive for. I really do, because they are afraid of us. They're afraid of us because we are noticing. But don't think that's going to last forever. I talked about it in the last video. It's like we have more free speech online to talk about this stuff than the past decade. Why is that? Is it just because Trump won last year? Or is it because they're letting it happen on purpose? Is it because they're letting people say these things on purpose? They're letting people, and the Fed posts are things. There are Feds that are, actively posting the shit as well. But are they letting real Americans, people who do think like this, to post these things so they can collect all this evidence so they can be like, wow, these people are extremists. We need to deal with them. If you think that is not something they are going to try and pull off, think again. You think the power structure that is in play right now is going to just willingly give up all the ground, all the propaganda they have spewed for literally fucking decades? You think they're just going to give all that shit up because we're noticing now. The big reason why we're noticing is because of two reasons. Because of TikTok, and it's because of X, Twitter. Elon Musk bought Twitter, turned it to X, and TikTok, for the longest time, was being controlled by China, and they don't give a fuck about Israel. So they weren't censoring people criticizing Israel. That changed. A bunch of Jews bought TikTok now, and you can't talk about Israel the same way you could 3 months ago. Your shit gets banned. Your shit gets removed. And a lot of younger people in Gen Z were watching shit on TikTok, and that's how they kind of got woken up. That's just the truth. So if you think there's not going to be some effort by these people to pin stuff on us, to go after us, you're mistaken. They will. You're going to see it. And there will be a false flag, whether it's somebody who was groomed or whether it's just a patsy or whatever. But best believe you, and I don't want that to happen. I'm not calling for that to happen. I'm just being honest with you. That's probably what's going to happen. A lot of you guys were saying shit like the other day, like, well, I don't want violence to happen. I don't want civil war to happen, but it's probably going to happen. And you know what? I actually agree with you. But I'm telling you, and I can't stress this enough, and the reason why I have to do this is because we do have to be the ones that disavow these people that are calling for violence. Because if we don't do that, the America that we want, to where we are actually America first and we're not owned by some other government and we're not controlled by these satanic pedophiles, that America that puts the people first, all of that, it's going to be nearly impossible. And it's already pretty difficult to even achieve that. It's still possible now. But they are going to have false flags. They are going to pin things on us. And the real actual people in our groups on our side that are calling for this violence, that are advocating for these things, whether they believe it or not, you make us look bad. And to the people that do have kids, the people who do have children, who do want children, who do want a family, who watch these videos, because I noticed a lot of people like that do watch my videos now, you should definitely disavow these people because they are going to ruin things for all of us. We should not be the ones that call for violence. Just because violence might happen, just because a civil war might happen, doesn't mean you're the ones who call for it. I've said that several times on several different videos. The only time anybody had a problem with it is when I made it the main topic of the video, to be honest. And I get why. I understand why. People are upset. People are emotional. But you need to think. And all these people in the comments saying, well, we need to be strategic, and you're not strategic. You're a bitch. And you're a pussy, and this is gay. And we should start something now. And it's like, dude, if you keep talking like that, you're going to put a bullseye on your back. And to the people who do think like that, you do not have enough people on your side to advocate for those things with you. Now, if you want to do what's happening in like Ireland right now, in Dublin, where, I don't know if you guys know this, a little girl got raped. A 10-year-old girl got raped by a illegal immigrant. And the government over there is protecting the illegal immigrants, and all these people are protesting, and it's getting pretty wild. That's the type of shit that I'm like, yeah, I encourage that. I encourage that type of protesting. That's the fire we need. But actively wanting a civil war where millions of people are going to die, and thinking that that's going to just, like, whatever you want is going to justify all that death and carnage is going to be good, and thinking that you even have a chance at winning that, that's where the delusion shit is kicking in. And that's where it's like, look, these people are on our side. And I hope you guys can see the point I'm trying to make. They make us look bad. If you seriously believe that at this moment in time, or even 10 years from now, you would have a chance at winning whatever type of violence that is, whatever type of conflict that is, you're wrong. And I'm done talking about it. I could keep talking about it for hours and hours. I've said my piece on that. But now we should move on. And to anybody that would disagree or agree with any of the points I would make, I would just ask you to seriously pray and to think about these things, because they hold a lot of weight. And these words that you use when you advocate for these things, they hold a lot of weight. And I'm just giving you a warning. If you keep acting like that online, I don't care if you're anonymous or if you use a VPN or whatever, they are going to start cracking down on people who talk like that. And God forbid you have a family, and next thing you know, you're in prison for 3 years and you can't provide for your family. That's just a personal bit of advice I'm giving you. I'm not telling you that because I agree with you and I think, oh, we just got to keep it to ourselves till it's the right time. No, I disavow violence entirely. And I know a lot of people think that's the only way anything's going to get done. And to that, I would say, like, what is even your plan? It's like you're just going to go out and start shooting people in the neck? See where that leads. See where that gets you. And see where this Fed posting gets you. Because it's not going to get you anywhere you want to go. So that's what I'll say to that. Now we're going to move on to the next portion of the video. What do I think we can do instead? What is the peaceful solution? Well, the main thing, and this is going to come from me, is we need God. We need Jesus. We need more Jesus in this country. And I mean actual Christianity. I don't mean this fucking bullshit dispensationalism that we have that's just a parasite in our nation. I mean actual Christianity, actual faith. We need community built around that. We need people to become brothers, not just as Americans, but brothers in Christ. I think that's the first step. Because how are we supposed to become strong men? How are we supposed to become leaders? Great leaders to fix this nation if we have turmoil in our souls, if we have like spiritual maladies in ourselves. We need to get ourselves fixed, and a big part of that is Christ. I need more Jesus. You need more Jesus. I know that's a joke to some people, but it's like, I'm a Christian, dude. I'm not just an American first patriot. I'm a Christian. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. This is a Christian nation, whether you like that or not. It is. I don't care what argument you have against that, you're wrong. How do we get back to the way things should be? Start there. Start reading the Bible. Don't just go to church and let some preacher read the Bible for you. Read it yourself. Get together with your friends, not just to shoot guns, but to pray. A lot of people make fun of prayer, and that's because they're arrogant and they have no understanding about what they're talking about. A lot of people, when they think of religion, when they think of God and spirituality, they have literally no concept of what it really is. They think of it as nothing more than it's just a charity. It's just people being nice to other people. That is not even scratching the surface of what religion is. And to anybody who thinks of it like that and thinks that it's worthless, it's like that's why you think it's worthless, because you don't fucking know what you're talking about at all. So that's what I would say. Step one is get religious. Get Jesus. Read the Bible. Pray. Step two to a peaceful solution is, well, if you do want true peace, yeah, like a lot of you, were saying in the past video, you have to be prepared for war. So what does that mean? If you are physically capable to exercise, to go to the gym, to learn a combat, whatever, do it. If you are able to get a gun and learn how to shoot and learn trigger discipline and actually how to clean your weapon and all these different things, not just buying a gun, having it loaded and never touching it, actually learning how to properly clean your weapon, all of that stuff. Yes. Learn how to do drills. Get with a community of people. If that means joining a group that's within the law, yeah, you can do that. The government is afraid of us because we do have the Second Amendment. That is a thing. So if you're not exercising your Second Amendment rights, I highly recommend you start doing that. You do start training. You do start getting community. But build that around God. Incorporate God into that community, into that group. That's even better. It's like, don't just become brothers in arms, but brothers in Christ. Because that's going to make all the difference in the world. Another thing we should do, start making families. This is hard. This is something I struggle with. A lot of us in Gen Z, we struggle with dating. But there is somebody who's watching this right now, and you might not be struggling as much as the rest of us. So with you, if you do have the opportunity, if you do know a woman that's good, that is godly, that is actually worth marrying and having kids with, do it. Build a life with her. Be a leader. And to any of the older people who are watching this video, if you have any advice for marriage or relationships, leave it below. I highly recommend the younger people actually listen. Because when you do meet people who have been married for like 40, 50 years, they do know a thing or two about it. They really do. They do have some information. It might not be everything that they know is good today, but there is some knowledge you can gain from that. I would just say don't take advice from people who are like, they're like men in relationships where they're basically like cucks and they don't wear the pants in the relationship. They're basically their wife's bitch. Don't take advice from those men. And you know exactly who I'm talking about. You know those types of guys. I would say don't take their advice. But there are godly men that are married, that are good husbands, that are good leaders in their family. And I think that's something we should all strive for. I think that's something you should prepare yourself for. A lot of people, when they get into a situation where they can actually have a good relationship, they get scared because they say, oh, I'm not ready, I'm not prepared. Well, maybe you can start preparing before that even comes up. That's just a thought. And a lot of people would say, well, what's the point of starting a family or doing all this if everything's so fucked, if everything's so bad? Look, if you're just constantly blackpilling, then there's literally nothing I can say in this section of the video that's going to convince you that I'm right or convince you that there's any chance at peace or anything like that. But all I know is there are a lot of people who think like us, who are American first patriots, who are Christians, and they are playing the long game with building families. And I mean, that is something that is just happening. Liberals, communists, crazy people like that, even Jews that are in certain positions of power, they don't have kids. They just don't. They think having kids means the world is going to explode and the ice caps are going to melt and we're all going to drown and the world's going to catch on fire because of global warming. They seriously believe all that shit. They are afraid of that. They're terrified. So they don't have kids. That's why they have to indoctrinate our kids. That's why they have to get your kids into transgender story time, drag queen story time, because they don't have kids on their own. So they need to indoctrinate yours. They need to corrupt yours because they don't have theirs. So the strategy of starting families, being peaceful, raising your children correctly, and a lot of people would say, oh, well, you could do everything you could as a parent. Your kid's still going to turn out like shit because of the society. That's actually not true. I hate to say it to you, but that just means you failed as a parent. And I understand not everything is your fault in those situations, but more often than not, it is. I know a lot of kids that ended up making bad decisions and turning out not good. And more often than not, it was because they had a shitty dad that wasn't in the picture, or they had a mom that was basically just a whore. And I'm not going to go into all the details about those things, but if you are truly a good parent that leads by example and has faith and believes in God and actually instills that into your children, I guarantee you your children more often than not will turn out good. But that does put a lot of responsibility on you. You have to be in control of what your kid watches, what your kid sees, what kind of school they go to. And a lot of people would say, well, that's hard, that's difficult. It's a sacrifice, that's the point. It's not easy. But it's a strategy a lot of people are doing, and they're right. They're getting married, they're homeschooling their kids, they're teaching their kids about God, they're teaching them not to follow the ways of the world and what everybody else is doing, and it will work. There will be some benefit to that along the road. That's just how that shit works, dude. And if you can strive for that, if you have the opportunity to do something like that, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but it would be one of the greatest things you could do. People who have great families and have children that they love, and it makes them happy. You know, what's one of the biggest things you're going to see in the coming future with women that don't have kids? They're going to be miserable. They're not going to be pretty anymore. Dudes aren't going to want to sleep with them anymore. They're not going to get the same amount of attention. And you're kind of already seeing it now with millennial women, but with Gen Z women, you're going to see it a lot more. And they're going to be miserable because they don't have children. They're going to be alone and sad at the old age. And I've worked in certain jobs where I've had to deal with older people like boomers and people who are alone and don't have kids, or worse, they have kids that hate them. It is the saddest shit you will ever see in your life. And I'm not saying that to be funny. I mean, it is actually truly sad. Like, you feel bad for these people because they're lonely and they're afraid and they're by themselves and nobody gives a fuck about them. So there is a benefit to having children. And that's anyone, anywhere, not just in America, but that's another thing you can do. And all of these strategies for a peaceful solution, for a peaceful approach to not starting a war and not Fed posting and blackpilling, none of these are easy and none of these are fast. We're in a time right now where all the things that are happening, they seem like they're coming out of nowhere, but in reality, they've been compounding for decades. And so they've been slowly building and building. It feels like it's coming out of nowhere, but it's not. And older people who have been paying attention, they'll tell you. They'll be like, yeah, I've noticed this shit 20 years ago. I knew this shit was going to happen. I talked to my friend about this in the 90s. They'll say shit like that because they're right. So there's going to be no solution, whether that's war or peace, that's going to be quick. But like the best way to win, in my opinion, is to do it peacefully, because no amount of violence you think you're capable of is going to compare to the ones that have a monopoly on violence. There is no revolution that would be had, no civil war that would occur in this day and age that's going to be anything like you've seen in history, whether it's drones or not, whether it's military or not. There's going to be blood, there's going to be carnage, there's going to be death, and I pray that doesn't happen. And I also pray if it does, we aren't the ones that advocated for it. We aren't the ones that crossed that line to start it. So when it comes to a peaceful solution too, it's like there's nothing we're going to be able to do that's going to be quick. So I'm not telling you to just vote. A lot of people are saying, they're saying, oh, so you're saying just vote and everything will turn out all right? I never fucking said that. I did talk about politics and playing the political game, but what do I mean by that? I mean, like, dude, you don't have to fucking vote. All the people that are in power and that are running for power right now are basically useless. But those are the ones who are right now. We've never had an entire generation in this country that was far right. But we're getting that with Gen Z. We're getting that with this generation. What does that mean? That means that there still is a chance. All the politicians you've been able to vote for in your entire life, even if you're a Gen Z who's voted, have been for boomers and Gen Xers. JD Vance is like the first millennial who's been in the White House, who's a vice president. It's always been Gen Xers and boomers since then. And I'm not saying I like JD Vance. I'm just saying it's still so many old people that are in our government running things, dude. And yet we have an entire generation of people that are noticing and waking up and who are more involved in politics than ever before. And you're going to say, oh, there's no, like, we're never going to have a chance at playing the political game. What do you mean? It's like, dude, think about it. We actually do have a chance. It's not going to be quick or fast. And I understand a lot of people have the argument against that. Well, we're dying now. We're getting shot now. The great replacement is happening now. How do we stop it? Well, the counter, argument to that is you can't stop it with violence. You're not capable. You don't have enough numbers. You don't have enough people willing to do what is necessary to do that. You would lose. And all that's going to do is give more power to the Jews, more power to the people who want great replacement, who want to get rid of white people, more power to the people who want this country to become a third world shithole. So people were commenting on the other video. They were like, how's the $7,000 from Israel, you fucking sellout? And it's like, dude, I'm advocating for solutions that would lead to Israel and Jews having less power. If you think a civil war wouldn't create a giant ass power vacuum in America and all the elites that already own all the resources and money, which are mostly Jews, by the way, wouldn't fucking just take all that shit to begin with, you're mistaken. But I digress. It's like a peaceful solution. It's not going to be fast. It's not going to be easy. But it is these things. It is starting a family. It is getting right with Christ. It is training. It's getting right with your family. It's talking to your friends. A lot of people don't think that works, but it does. The fact that I even have a channel, the fact that you're even watching this is because somebody somewhere, whether it was a YouTube video or a family friend or a brother or a father or somebody, talked to you about these things, explained these things to you. So it does work, actually. And it can work fast, but more often than not, it's going to work slow. So the peaceful solution to this, what I have now, and I'll try to find a bunch of other reasons. I'll try to find an actual plan or whatever and make a video about that. But what I'm saying right now is we do have a chance to play the political game. We do have a chance to do things peacefully. We do have a chance to create families and communities and fellowships and brotherhoods. And whether you want violence or not, you have to agree with me on this at least. We need more unity. That's just a given. So even if you want what you want, and if it is violence, and I suggest against that highly, you still need more unity. You still need more people on your side. And freaking out in comments and just like Fed posting doesn't cut it. The only people that appeals to are people who already think like you. You don't win anybody over by doing that. Even you have to be somebody who just talks. And I'm glad we're talking. But I would highly recommend, all things considered, with a lot of the stuff that's going to come out in the next few years, you think before you act. You strategize before you implement anything. You just think about what you say before you say it. Because they are going to start going after people. They are going to start targeting us as a whole, whether you're advocating for violence or not. And I understand they're already coming after us. I understand people are already dying. I get that. I'm fucking mad too. You can go back and watch the videos that I made right after Charlie Kirk died. I'm just as pissed off as you. But it's a quick call to violence is not going to fix anything. And even if you were somebody who wanted that, you would have to acknowledge the fact that there isn't enough of you. So regardless, you have to wait. And I'm not saying you got to vote. I'm not saying you got to participate. Some of us do, and a lot of us will. That doesn't mean you have to, but we will. Why? Because if we don't, it's just going to be people in power who are going to take our rights. And you could say, well, that's happening regardless. Well, fuck it. Fuck it, dude. That's what I say to that. All these people who have a fucking comment about everything, well, that's not going to work, and this wouldn't work, and that's not going to happen, and it's not going to end up peaceful. It's going to escalate. Fuck it, dude. You want to know my peaceful solution to the political game? The fact that we're in a generation where more people are aware of these things, more people are on our side than ever before, more people are getting into politics than ever before, more people are getting into positions of power, Ivy League schools. They're becoming lawyers, doctors. People are entering the upper echelon of society, which is predominantly controlled by communists and fucking liberal nutjobs. People like us, who think like us, are infiltrating those groups. And they're doing it in a way to where they're not giving themselves away. They're not Fed posting. They're not getting exposed because they're being smart about it. People will get into politics. It will change. And when boomers start dying because of old age, and when Gen Xers start retiring, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, they're either going to die completely and burn, and some new party is going to come out of that, or they're going to have to radically change. Because the younger generation, millennials or Gen Z or whatever, they don't think the same way as the boomers. They just don't. So things are changing regardless. These things take time. And I advocate, I tell you, be peaceful. Don't advocate for violence. Don't incite violence. Don't do these things. Don't stoop to these levels. Don't give them ammo. They want you to do that. They want you to go out and start killing people. They want you to talk about that. Not even to do it, just to talk about it online. And they are watching and they are paying attention. Because they are afraid of us, and they need as much ammunition as they can get to stop us. And I'm telling you, what's a good reason for playing this long political game? Fuck it. That's a reason. Because what else are we going to do? Just start violence? I say no. I say no to that. I say we have one more fucking shot. And I hate to break it to you, even if we do have a civil war and if we win, that's not going to change the fact that we're still in debt. That's not going to change the fact that we're still at war with all these different countries. That's not going to change the fact that we still have influence from all these different countries and groups that hate us, that want us dead. There's still a lot of political issues that are going to have to be fixed if you want this to stay a country. So just a civil war won't even fix half of that. So the political game, the long-term game, I say we play it because fuck it. We have more cards than ever before. We have a better chance now than ever before. But if we get too careless, and if we let people on our side get carried away and start inciting violence, calling for death and all these different things, if we start doing that, that's going to do way more harm than good. And you know I'm right. You understand that. You know I'm right, dude. You're not stupid. You know how people react to those things. They want you to do that. They want you to fight. They want you to draw blood. When Charlie Kirk died, they were praying. And they don't even believe in God, but they were praying on their knees that we would go out and we would start killing people. Why? Because they want you to do it. They want you to do it, man. They are fucking waiting to jerk off to that shit because that is what they are planning on. But you know what they got instead? They got prayer vigils. They got people coming together. They got people turning to Christ. I know people personally in my life who have never been religious going to church. That's how we reacted. Did we want to react with violence? Yes, we did. But we didn't. And that says a whole lot more about us and our beliefs and our morals than it does about them. And I know they still showed up at those vigils talking shit, vandalizing them, aggravating the people there, doing all these things. And what did that do to the average American? You know what that did to the average American? They saw that and they thought, what the fuck is wrong with these people? And yeah, that average American might not be far right like us. They might not be American first like us. But you know what they are? They're more on our side than they were 3 months ago. Because they did see the reactions. I don't know if you've seen that video. There's a video from a college where a girl was recording herself and she was in her class and there was another girl celebrating that Charlie Kirk got shot and she was showing the video to all her classmates. And this girl was like, why are you celebrating this? It's like this guy was a father. Whether that girl was conservative or not, it's like that's a reaction a lot of people had. I know a lot of people who are liberal and they felt disgusted. And I guarantee you a lot of those people stayed up late at night reevaluating their beliefs. And I guarantee you a lot of those people ended up more right than left. Now, you could say, well, they're still on the side that wants us dead. They're still not exactly with us. Fine. But what did we show everybody? We showed everybody that even though we are the ones that are capable of violence, even though we are the ones that people are afraid of, because liberals were scared. They seriously thought we were going to start going in the streets and murdering people. That was something that people actually thought was going to happen. And we didn't do that. And I know a lot of people say, well, that's weakness. That's because we're pussies. That's because we're this. I disagree. I think you're a very short-sighted person. I don't think you see the big picture of things. I think us not giving in to that bait, not giving in to that anger, says a lot more about us and who we are and what we stand for. Not just to everybody else in America, but to the whole fucking world than if we went to violence. Because everybody expected us to do that, and we didn't. But if the roles were reversed, what would have been the reaction? It would have been riots. It would have been blood. There is something in that. There is a power in that. I know people think mercy isn't worth anything, but it is. The Bible says not to be quick to violence. Don't just be mercilessly violent and killing people. Justified violence is a different thing, but that doesn't mean go out and start killing people, dude. That doesn't mean you incite this shit. Because that's what they want you to do, and that's what they need you to do. And I guarantee you, even if you don't do it, there's going to be some false flag where they blame it on us either way. And when that happens, and it will happen, not because I want it to, not because I think it should, but because, let's be realistic here, that's just how these things work. That's how these things play out. You know it, I know it. But we need to be ready to be the ones that say, we never called for that. And I know it's slow. I know the peaceful process isn't quick. It's going to take generations. But you have to ask yourself, what really matters? In America, where people in charge are more or less the same as the ones who are in charge now, to where we're no different than the people who do want us dead? Or in America that has a foundation with God and with family at the core? An America that is set up to last thousands of years, hundreds of generations. What would matter more to you? What are you willing to sacrifice more for? What type of America? When I think about it, and I get angry too, but when I think about it, when I try to calm myself down and pray and what does matter? I would say an America that actually has God and family and patriotism, but also mercy and justice at its core. I would say that's an America worth fighting for. And if that means to get there, to get to that point, really, we have to play the long game and be peaceful about it, then that's what I would advocate for. Now, I know the points I gave in this video, it wasn't the greatest thing ever. I'm talking off the top of my head. And I know there's going to be people who disagree. And I actually appreciate you guys who disagree. Even the people who call me names, even the people who argue, because at least you're listening. So thank you. If you have anything to add, if there's any questions, if you have any advice for the people who are watching this video, let us know below. I know this was a long video, but I felt it was necessary because the reaction to the past video was just it was a big reaction. It wasn't a lot. Like, it's still like 90% positive likes, and that's usually what I get anyways. But a lot of the people who did have disagreements are people who are subscribed and who watch my videos. So you guys disagreeing with me matters a lot more than some random person who doesn't watch me disagreeing. You know, so I felt this was needed and people were asking. And I hope to the people that did ask for me to make a video like this, I was able to kind of do it justice. If you guys want a more in-depth video, I'll try that. Maybe a video where I actually write a script or something. But it's like, guys, I love this country. I love God. And I want the best for all of us. I don't want us to get replaced by foreigners. I don't want this place to turn into a third world shithole. I don't want any of that. I want an America I can be proud of. And that we can be proud of. An America where I can have a family. Where they're safe and they have a future. And I truly believe at this point in time, we still have a shot. We still have a chance to do things peacefully. If there's a day that comes where that just isn't the case and it fully is like 100%, look, we have to face the music, I'll acknowledge that. But I just don't see any argument so far that says that. I just see people who are emotional, and maybe they do have some logical points here and there, but ultimately I don't see anything that justifies us dying, especially when I think it's not going to lead to us winning or anything fruitful. But that's just how I feel about it. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys feel. As always, if you did learn something, if you did enjoy this video, like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification. Thank you guys so much. Like, we just hit 2,000 subs, and now we're right about to hit 3,000. And I can't explain how grateful I am for all of you. Like, I can't even believe it. I really can't. And I'm not stopping. To the people who hate me or the people who disagree or whatever, I'm not stopping, dude. I'm still going. I'm not always going to get it right. I'm not always going to be the most articulate person on whatever issue I'm talking about. That's not always going to happen. But I'm still going to speak my mind, and I'm glad that you guys are listening, and I'm glad you guys are speaking your mind too, and let me know what's up because it means a lot to me. So thank you. But also be sure to follow me on Rumble because I don't know how long I'll have a YouTube channel for. And follow me on X. I'm on X now. We're posting bass shit on there, dude. I'm going to start saying crazy shit on there coming up real soon. So, because I just like doing that. It's fun. But yeah, follow me on X. The link will be in the description. If you don't want to click on the link, my username on there is just TomFo1, all one word. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But thank you guys so much. As always, America first, baby. Jesus Christ is King of Kings, Lord of Lords. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your night, and I will see you all later.